ladies and gentlemen, buckle up because what just broke in Washington today is not politics as usual. This right here, right now, this is the moment everything snapped into focus. Now, for weeks, we've been watching that shady Seditious Six video explode across the internet. We've been questioning why Democratic lawmakers, ex-CIA analysts, and former military figures suddenly joined forces to warn America about some phantom threat coming from President Donald J. Trump. And we've been asking why their message looked less like a PSA and more like something ripped straight out of a CIA destabilization manual. Well, tonight, guys, we finally have the answer because the Trump 2.0 administration just dropped a bombshell that has DC shaking. The Department of War has officially confirmed that Senator Mark Kelly, the only one of the six still subject to military law, is under full review for potentially violating the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Guys, we're talking about a sitting Democrat senator, a retired Navy commander, now facing scrutiny for a video that former CIA ops officers say could match the structure of a psychological operation. And if that wasn't explosive enough, Jesse Waters, he comes out swinging, revealing that the video follows a three-step CIA propaganda pattern used overseas to topple governments. Then a former CIA operations officer steps forward and says that Elissa Slotkin, the face of the video, knew exactly what she was doing, not by accident, not by mistake, but with precision. So tonight, the entire story has flipped. The deep state narrative didn't just fail, it backfired. Instead of undermining Trump, it triggered what appears to be the first military-backed probe into a Democrat senator in modern history. Now, this isn't left versus right anymore. This is something bigger. This is something darker and something that, according to conservative intel insiders, may reveal an operation that's far beyond what anyone expected. So stick with me, guys, because what we're about to unpack today, the timing, the strategy, the panic, the CIA-style fingerprints, this could be the beginning of the Trump 2.0 crackdown that Democrats never thought would come. Hit the like button and subscribe. All right, so what ignited this entire firestorm was that now infamous video, the one that the internet dubbed the Seditious Six. This is a perfectly polished, perfectly timed message urging U.S. troops to resist illegal orders. But here's the catch, guys. Not one named a single illegal order, not one. And the moment President Donald J. Trump stepped back into the Oval Office in January 2025, everyone understood exactly who that message was aimed at. Now, what made this video truly dangerous wasn't the wording, it was the presentation. Ex-CIA analysts, former military officers, and sitting Democrats standing shoulder to shoulder projecting authority. It was clearly crafted to feel official, to feel credible. And this is why it detonated online. America had never seen anything like this in modern politics. But here's where the situation turns nuclear. Mark Kelly, the only member of the group who legally cannot play this game. He is a retired Navy commander, which means the UCMJ still applies to him today, even as a sitting senator. And that changes everything. So while the others, they can hide behind civilian status, Kelly cannot. The rules he's accused of brushing up against, discrediting the armed forces, invoking rank and political messaging, potentially influencing active duty troops, those aren't abstract guidelines. Those are actually prosecutable violations under military law. This is why the Department of War locked onto him. Not because he's a senator, but because he knew the rules and spoke as if he didn't. And listen, before we move any further, let me just go ahead and say this real quick because it really matters. There's this moment, usually a few minutes into the call, where people literally stop and say, oh, now I get it. This is Chapter, finally making your Medicare plan make sense. No confusion, no stress, no guessing, just clarity. Your coverage becomes simple, not overwhelming. One of our viewers wrote, it finally clicked. And that's the moment that everything got easier. Most people are choosing clarity, and you can too. Phone numbers down below, 909-563-8279, or you can visit Ask Chapter on the internet at askchapter.org/Ron. And I'm being told by Chapter, if you call early in the morning, the wait time is a lot lower, so you can hurry up and get through. Oh, and don't take my word for it, guys. B. Singletary said, call Chapter. I pay $0 for my Part B. I love them. All right, guys, let's get back to this investigation because what happens next, this is where things really heat up. Then, boom, the Trump administration's newly restructured Department of War steps in and made everything 10 times hotter. Their statement wasn't vague. It wasn't soft. It wasn't political. It was surgical. They confirmed that a formal review of Senator Mark Kelly's conduct is now underway, guys. The language alone shook Washington. Serious allegations, discredit upon the armed forces, further action pending review. Now, this wasn't some routine ethics complaint. This was the Pentagon telling a sitting senator, your words may have crossed the legal line. And what made this moment historic, truly historic, is simple. Never before in modern U.S. history has the military initiated a review of a senator's behavior tied to chain of command messaging. Trump 2.0 didn't hesitate. They drew the line. Just as the investigation news broke, Jesse Waters dropped the biggest twist yet. He revealed that 2 former CIA officers told him the Seditious Six video looked exactly like a destabilization operation, the kind of psychological tactic traditionally used in foreign countries to shake governments, fracture trust, and create public doubt. Now, Jesse Waters, he laid it out step by step. So step 1, establish authority. Hey, I'm CIA, I'm military, trust me. Step 2, introduce a threat. Not Russia, not China, but Donald Trump, the sitting president. Step 3, present resistance as the only option, as if troops are obligated to disobey. Now, this wasn't a political message. It looked like a script, a playbook, and the internet knew it instantly. And then came the confirmation that sent Democrats scrambling. Former CIA operations officer Brian Dean Wright, he stepped onto the stage and said the quiet part out loud. Elissa Slotkin knew exactly what she was doing. Now, Wright explained that analysts are trained. They're trained to understand how messaging shapes perception, how phrasing can spark panic, and how authority can influence behavior. Now, he didn't describe the video as misguided. He described it as engineered, that they planned this. Now, Slotkin spent years inside the intelligence ecosystem. She understands exactly how propaganda works. She understands how to craft a message that manipulates emotion. And so when she stood in front of the camera and warned troops about Trump, Wright insisted that that wasn't spontaneous. That was deliberate, calculated, intentional. And conservatives across the country said, of course it was. Now, once Wright spoke, a new theory exploded. Was this the next big political hoax? Military bloggers, retired officers, even political analysts began connecting the dots. The pattern looked familiar, eerily familiar. Tactics normally reserved for foreign destabilization suddenly showing up in domestic politics. 5 Democrats appearing together, reading coordinated language, hinting at coming chaos, and all using the same vague warning: be ready to resist. People started asking, who organized this? Who wrote this script? Who synchronized this message? Why did 6 officials with different backgrounds suddenly move as one unit? Now, for nearly 48 hours straight, this theory dominated conservative media because the timing, the choreography, and the precision didn't look random. They looked planned. And once the investigation news hit, Senator Mark Kelly did exactly what people do when they feel the walls closing in. He panicked online. He posted long emotional messages about his service, his oath, his deployments, and his loyalty to the Constitution. But the part that really raised eyebrows was his claim that President Trump called for him to be arrested, hanged, and put to death. This is not what Trump said. It wasn't even close. So instead of calming things down, Kelly's post made him look rattled, nervous, defensive, and the public saw it instantly. Now, comment after comment accused him of scrambling, shifting the narrative, misinterpreting or misrepresenting the facts, or pretending not to understand what the review was even about. His tone didn't project confidence, it projected fear. And while Kelly was melting down online, the White House stepped in with a voice of absolute clarity. Caroline Leavitt, she didn't sugarcoat anything. She didn't hedge. She said Trump's administration fully supports the Department of War's investigation because not a single illegal order has ever been issued, not one. She pointed out that Kelly and his colleagues know the rules. They know how military discipline operates. They know that lawful orders are presumed legal, and they know encouraging doubt inside the ranks is destabilizing. Now, Caroline Leavitt framed this entire video not as political commentary, but as an attack on the integrity of U.S. military. And she warned, there can be no disorder in America's chain of command, not under Trump 2.0. Meanwhile, the mainstream media, they tried to run interference. CNN, CBS, MSNBC, and a handful of legacy news outlets attempted to give Kelly and Slotkin a sort of a soft landing. But even their own anchors couldn't ignore the elephant in the room. They asked the only question that mattered. Can you name a single illegal order from President Trump? And suddenly everything froze. No examples, no specifics, no concrete intent, no concrete incident, just vague warnings about dangerous possibilities and what could happen. Yeah, eyes rolled. The silence was deafening. This exposed exactly what millions had already suspected. The video wasn't responding to an actual event, it was attempting to shape one. And for a media class already struggling for credibility, watching their guests fumble live on air, this was catastrophic. They couldn't defend the message because the message had nothing behind it. And this is why this story is bigger than one video. It's bigger than just 6 Democrats, and it's bigger than Mark Kelly himself. Under President Donald J. Trump's second administration, the rules of engagement are different. Trump made it clear from day one, there will be no repeat of the internal sabotage, anonymous resistance, and bureaucratic obstruction that plagued his first term. The military must remain apolitical. The chain of command must remain intact, and anyone who tries to inject political panic into the ranks will face consequences, real consequences. So when the Seditious Six attempted to warn troops about hypothetical illegal orders, they weren't just speaking recklessly. They were stepping directly into the center of Trump's 2.0 red line. And the administration moved fast to enforce it. So what makes this moment unprecedented isn't just the political fallout, it's the legal reality. A sitting United States senator is now facing a review under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Now, this is something virtually unheard of in modern American history. The UCMJ is not symbolic, it's not advisory, it is military law, and for retired officers like Mark Kelly, it's never stopped applying. And so if the review finds that Kelly used his rank to influence active duty troops, if it finds that he brought discredit to the armed forces, if it finds that he played a role in undermining lawful command, this could reshape how Congress interacts with the military forever. Now, this isn't speculation. This is the legal framework that's already in motion. The gravity of this really cannot be overstated. And while all of this is unfolding, another unsettling pattern has emerged. Warnings of chaos, unrest, or breakdown just keep on slipping into political messaging. Commentators, they noticed it months ago. Certain politicians seemed almost intent on priming the public for instability, whether it was the government shutdown or SNAP funding threats or carefully planted language about dangerous times ahead. This is a theme that just kept on resurfacing. So pay attention, folks. So when the Seditious Six video dropped telling troops to brace for something unlawful, many Americans, they felt the echoes immediately. It fed straight into the anxiety that was already circulating. So instead of calming tensions, it heightened them. Instead of stabilizing the conversation, it destabilized it. And in a Trump 2.0 America, that kind of messaging is gasoline on the fire. And the public reaction, well, let's just say it was absolutely volcanic. Within hours, millions of comments poured across X, Rumble, YouTube, TikTok, Truth Social, and YouTube, calling the video exactly what it appeared to be: sedition. Outrage wasn't coming from the fringe accounts. It was coming from veterans, active duty families, and independents who felt the message crossed every imaginable line. And online metrics showed keyword spikes that looked like election night traffic, sedition, UCMJ, deep state, CIA psyop, Trump 2.0 crackdown. People weren't buying the Democrats' explanation. They weren't confused. They weren't divided. They were furious because undermining the chain of command, it doesn't just weaken a president, it weakens the country. In a moment where unity is crucial, the Seditious Six shattered trust, and the internet made sure that they couldn't hide. And once this backlash started snowballing, another wave hit just as hard. Calls for deeper investigation. Americans began demanding to know whether Mark Kelly, Elissa Slotkin, and the others had coordinated with outside groups, donors, or even political strategists. Theories started exploding about who crafted the language, who pushed the rollout, and who benefited politically. People questioned whether foreign interest, activist nonprofits, or partisan think tanks helped to shape the messaging. Was it political theater? Was it psychological influence? Was it the opening act of an orchestrated narrative designed to cast Trump as a threat? In Trump's second term, this isn't just a political miscalculation. It could redefine the boundaries of acceptable conduct for members of Congress, especially those with intelligence backgrounds. The stakes aren't just high, they're historic. And so the final question, the one everyone's asking tonight, is simple. Well, what happens now? The Department of War has already begun its review. Congressional leaders are scrambling, legal analysts are dissecting the UCMJ, and the White House is making it very clear that there will be zero tolerance for attempts to inject political fear into military ranks. This could lead to disciplinary action. It could lead to congressional inquiries. It could lead to new military protocols restricting how retired officers engage in political messaging. But the bigger picture is this. Under President Trump's second term, the era of shadow operators, anonymous bureaucratic resistance, and intelligence-style political maneuvers, all that's coming to an end. This probe isn't just about Mark Kelly. It's a warning shot, a reset, a line in the sand. The message is unmistakable. The chain of command is no longer a political playground, not in Trump 2.0.